Hello, BBC.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
This was their finest hour.
All right, lift off and the clock has started.
The Americans are over the Rhine.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucer.
Recorded live onto a digital SD card from somewhere in Western Canada, it's the Line Screw One audio podcast.
Computers now have primary control of critical functions.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Line Screw One audio podcast number 2. Now, for you longtime viewers and listeners, I had been promising to do this more often, but I haven't. So I will be trying to do an audio podcast about once a month. And the reason I want to do one of these approximately once a month is that it does take less time and production value for me to crank out an episode and to do longer content with more ease. But I will start today's content out with an announcement. Bob Wells has just announced the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous will be taking place January 11th to 21st, 2018 in Quartzsite, Arizona. For you hardcore Rubber Tramp fans, travelers, nomads, I guess you are looking forward to that. Now, if you saw the title of this podcast, it's not clickbait. It's actually rooted in some very grounding truth, which we're actually going to discuss here in this audio podcast. The thing about Rubber Tramp, which I was there last year, and it's grown significantly, and I'm seeing a parallel with Burning Man. Any of you people out there know about Burning Man? That started with very humble origins back in '86, and has grown to 70,000 participants a year now out in the playa. And it's quite popular. They could sell more tickets than 70,000. It's that big. But it had humble origins, kind of like Rubber Tramp Rendezvous. And the big concern I'm seeing with Rubber Tramp is success. Because success is great, it's wonderful, but it's double-edged. And I'm suspecting that Bob hasn't procured an events permit, licensing and fees, and done all the bureaucratic stuff, because that would cost a lot of money. And I'm afraid this is leaving Bob out in terms of a liability bullseye, so to speak. But I think there's no reason at all that Bob couldn't form a non-profit organization and just charge a modest fee, because most people are traveling a long distance to go there, and for the price of a tank of gas, I think most people would attend anyway, especially because the event is quite long. But just like Burning Man, things get to a point where people actually can get injured or hurt, and you need insurance. People actually make a mess, and the land needs to be remediated. There needs to be all sorts of safety plans in place. A good board of directors that can actually, tackle the event with a team of volunteers to address all these issues and create policy and plans to keep everybody safe. Because I think the number one thing Bob would want is everybody goes home safe, and that's what I would want too. Now, I did attend last year, and me and my people, we all stayed in a place we informally called Hydrocarbon Village, which is about a 3-minute walk across a wash to the actual event, because we didn't want to bother Bob or anybody else, because many of us ran generators and we'd stay up late and play music and things like that. So we kind of created our own little bubble away from others to not bother those who didn't want to be bothered. I just thought that made a lot of sense. But at the same time, I'm not going out on a limb to say I'm sponsoring an event for my people, because it's not going to be that way. It's going to be a select group of friends and viewers. And I'm not even going to even announce that I'm even going to go this year, because who knows, things can change. So I don't want to put myself in the liability loop just like Bob has, because when you organize an event, and I went through the BLM permit process checklist, it looks like Bob needs a permit and a business plan and potentially some insurance. So I do have quite a few licensed attorneys in the U.S. that might want to weigh in on this. And it's a question of whether this is just an activity or a commercial venture. Now, some might argue because Bob makes money off of videos, and so do I, and so do many other people that go. Some would argue that it is a commercial venture, and Bob, even in some videos, he's mentioned about, you know, advocating people to sell products there, which that pushes it into the commercial venture area. I would almost encourage Bob to take those videos down or re-edit them where he doesn't mention that, because, you know, the last thing you want to do is have Bob put himself in a scary situation where he could become bankrupt and become the burden of all liabilities and problems for this event, which would be unfair, and it would probably destroy the event completely. So what I'm suggesting we do here, folks, is we're talking to Bob here, and everybody's got to encourage Bob to do this, because Bob's got his own mind and his own way of doing things. But just like Burning Man went legit in '91, it started in '86, but with the growth of its participants, it had to get an official BLM permit. We're not talking the permit we all get to just camp there. I'm talking about an event permit. That's a different thing. Bob needs to form a non-profit organization, or if he wants a for-profit organization, that's fine. Get a board of directors in there, get some insurance, business plan, and just get her done. And there's nothing wrong with some profit. I have no problem with him making a profit off the event. He started it. He should profit from it. Hey, it's capitalism, folks. If you don't like capitalism, I got a list of countries you can move to. So, you know, it would be his baby. Non-profit, no profit. But whatever the case, going above board legit with permits, insurance, and a plan, and you know, people that are going to remediate the land afterwards, I think is a very prudent and sustainable way of doing this if it's to continue. Because otherwise, 1 year, just so many people are going to show up, and the BLM bureaucrats are going to come down. It could happen this year for all we know, and the whole thing is off. And it would be tragic to have a whole bunch of people drive a lot of miles and suddenly be disappointed. Or, you know, they book their vacation that they only have 2 weeks a year and they plan to be there, and suddenly they find out 2 weeks beforehand that that's not going to be happening. So I think there's no shame in legitimizing it, and charge a fee. Nothing wrong with that. Put some fencing up to collect the garbage that blows in the wind. Do what you got to do. Charge the fees you got to charge. Get some kiosks in there, people selling their goods and services if you want to do that. Hey, it's all up to the planners and the board of directors if you elect one. So that's my 2 cents on that. But if the Burning Man paradigm is any indication of what happens to these events on BLM land, there comes a point where you have to go legit. You have to have a strategy. You have to work with law enforcement, paramedics. You got to have some people there that are trained in first aid, because let's face it, you know, people have heart attacks, people get injured, and you have a duty to mitigate damages to people when you're organizing an event. And I just think everybody feels safer and be happier. Now, of course, you could just limit the event and say screw it, and announce the event 48 hours in advance, and only a handful of the hardcore and the friends show up, which would, you know, you could do that too, but it would defeat the purpose, and the growth definitely wouldn't be there of the event, which has become so popular. So, I don't know. What do you guys think about this? You obviously, if you've been following the growth of the RTR, the numbers are growing, and we'll get to a point that something's got to be done. So weigh in on your thoughts in the comments section below, and let us know, especially the ones I know that are actually licensed attorneys. You may have some very wise advice to help Bob mitigate or eliminate liability. And my thoughts are just go legit. That's why everything I do on YouTube, I license my music. That's why, you know, I play by copyright rules, things like that, because I just find going legit and everything allows me to sleep better at night. And let's face it, Bob's getting older, and he don't need to lose any more sleep or worry over these type of events. So let's all hope it works out fine, and it goes in a sustainable direction. So moving on from that long diatribe, I really hope to do more of these audio podcasts, only because they're nice when you're just doing something you want to listen, because I like audio podcasts. I listen to a lot of people digitally this way, because you can do the dishes, you can putter around, do some cleaning, and just zone out and relax and listen. Even just before I go to sleep, I like listening to audio podcasts. So it's a different format. It doesn't work for everybody. I get that. But I think throwing the odd one out is worth it, just for the hell of it. Now, I will actually be moving on quite soon, heading off to meet with Ray from Health Travelers. And from there, I probably will be heading north for a brief spell into British Columbia. And then I'm going to be waiting upon the long-term weather forecast to decide where I'm going south and when I'm going south. And of course that includes the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous. Vancouver and Seattle had the driest summer on record just now. And we had these huge forest fires. And I'm sure hoping that the oceans have heated up substantially, that we don't have much of a winter here. And if the climate forecast models are such that Vancouver is going to have a mild winter, I wouldn't mind leaving my rig up here and just flying down to the desert and putting Sammy the Pooper in a kennel. Because I've got a lot of frequent flyer miles racked up, so I can fly down to LA, Phoenix, Vegas, and rent a car or whatnot for free. And I would be saving all that time and fuel that I would have to spend on my RV and just put that towards renting a condo. Now, I'm not selling out by renting a condo for a week or two, because I think of it as a vacation from being a nomad. And it's nice to have a pool and a hot tub and an actual tub where you can have a bath in, and not worry about managing your RV or dumping the black tank or the gray tank and just chilling. I think it's money well spent and a vacation from being a nomad while you still really are a nomad. I don't know what your thoughts on that, folks. I personally kind of like it. Okay, we're going to keep it short on this audio podcast because, like I said, this is still an experiment in progress, but I hope to do more of them, maybe once a month. So in the meantime, folks, stay safe, keep your wheels on the ground, and I will talk to you soon. Over and out.